Hello children, welcome to AIMS India's online classes, biology session, respiration, the energy releasing system, part 3. In the part 2, we have discussed about the path of the air which passes into the respiratory system. Okay, that is from the air enters into the nostrils, nasal cavities, from the nasal cavities, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and alveoli. In the alveoli, the exchange of gases takes place. So, if you see more about our lungs, lungs are spongy in nature. They are not of the same size. The lung towards the left, so actually the three-dimensional picture it is here. Our right hand side is the left lung and left hand side is the right lung. Okay, the lung towards the left is slightly smaller here. See, here I am mentioning right side means left lung it is. Okay, slightly smaller, making space for your heart. Heart is present here, isn't it? The heart is present in between the two lungs. Okay, so this the left lung is slightly smaller, making space for your heart, and the lungs are protected by a double layered membrane. What is that membrane which lines the lungs, which you studied in your lower class? That is pleura membrane. Pleura membrane, a fluid filled between these membranes, protects the lungs from physical shocks, from the injuries. So this pleura membrane, pleural fluid is present. It acts like a shock absorber and protects the lungs from physical shocks. And also this pleura membrane aid in the expansion of the spongy and elastic lung muscles as they slide one over the other. What do you call that? Friction is reduced with the help of that fluid present between the two layers of pleura membrane. So you must have noticed that your own breathing is slow and shallow. When you are at rest, the breathing is slow. It is deeper and faster when you do any hard exercise, isn't it? Sometimes even you take the air in through your mouth also, isn't it? The patterns of breathing shows a great range for they are coordinated with moment by moment needs of the body for supply of oxygen and removal of carbon dioxide. Okay, it depends on the activity. Okay, so what are the situations affect your breathing? Your breathing is affected. It has been found that all movements of breathing stop at once when the nerves leading from the brain to the respiratory system are cut. Actually, our respiratory center is present in the brain. Okay, olfactory lobes, smell, and the respiration, those centers are present in the cerebrum of the brain, isn't it? Then what can be concluded from this? If you just recall what happens during the process of breathing, there is inhalation and exhalation takes place. During inhalation, air enters inside. During exhalation, the air comes outside. Which gas needs to be removed from our body during exhalation? That carbon dioxide, isn't it? Where does the extra amount of the gas comes from? Because continuously we are breathing, so the extra gas which is present inside also during expiration it comes out. What is the composition of inhaled air? Inhaled air contains not only oxygen, it also contains air is a mixture of gases. Obviously it also possesses some amount of hydrogen or some amount of carbon dioxide. Okay, some amount of nitrogen is also present in that. Then when exhaled air is compared with the inhaled air, is there any difference? Definitely. there is a difference. There is a difference in the percentage of oxygen and carbon dioxide, because we used the oxygen, so the oxygen percentage is decreased, and we added the carbon dioxide to that air which comes out, so obviously the carbon dioxide percentage is more. Okay children, gaseous exchange more we are going to discuss in this video. The gaseous exchange of gases, alveoli to capillaries. How the exchange of gases takes place? The gaseous exchange takes place within the lungs by diffusion from the alveoli to blood capillaries, and from blood capillaries to alveoli. Vice versa means to and fro. Okay children, the gaseous exchange takes place within the lungs by diffusion of gases from alveoli to the blood, and vice versa. The carbon dioxide in the blood is exchanged for oxygen in the alveoli. Okay, diffusion. What is diffusion? Diffusion is a process of movement of molecules or particles or ions takes place from a region of high concentration to region of low concentration until the concentration becomes equal on both sides. Okay, so here when the air before entering into the lungs, the concentration of carbon dioxide is more, so the carbon dioxide leaves the blood and oxygen adds to the blood. So like that the exchange of gases takes place. So these are the alveoli. Inside the alveoli, these are the blood capillaries, where the air from bronchi to the bronchioles enters into the alveoli, where the exchange of gases takes place. Okay, these exchange of gases, that is oxygen enters inside and the carbon dioxide leaves. Okay, the exchange of gas, the hemoglobin plays very important role in this, how we will see further. So here bronchioles, these tiny air sacs in the lungs, so each air sac we are calling it as alveolus. Okay, the diffusion pathway for the gaseous exchange between the lung and the blood capillaries is taking place here. So the carbon dioxide, the CO2 from here entering into the alveoli, the oxygen present in the alveoli enters into the blood. Okay, this is called the diffusion taking place. The blood cells, RBC particularly, combines or absorbs the oxygen. Okay, these tiny air sacs in the lungs are numerous and only one cell thick. They are surrounded by capillaries that are also only one cell thick. The blood, dark red in color, flows from the heart through these capillaries and collects oxygen from the alveoli. Okay, oxygen is collected. So here this is representing the blood capillary, this is the alveoli. Okay, the oxygen enters into the alveoli, diffuses into the blood capillaries, combines with the blood, and the carbon dioxide present in the blood diffuses into the alveoli. So this is the exchange of gas taking place. When the carbon dioxide concentration is more in the blood, it leaves the blood. When the oxygen concentration is less in the blood, then oxygen combines with the blood. So like that it takes place. At the same time, the carbon dioxide passes out of the capillaries and into the alveoli. This is the exchange of gases taking place inside the alveolus. Like that, numerous alveoli are present, and each and every alveoli the same process will takes place. Okay, next, when we breathe out, we get rid of this carbon dioxide, and the bright red oxygen rich blood is returned to the heart and pumped out to all parts of the body, to each and every cell. As a result of the gaseous exchange, the composition of the inhaled and exhaled air is different. Okay. See the table below. Approximate values are given in the table. Why does the amount of oxygen vary between exhaled and inhaled? Okay, here see. The percentage of oxygen in the inhaled air is 21% and the exhaled air is 16%. Why does the amount of oxygen vary between the exhaled and inhaled air? Because some amount of oxygen is used by us in the process of respiration. So that's why the oxygen percentage is decreased in the exhaled air, whereas the carbon dioxide percent is only 0.04 in the inhaled air, but there is an increase in the percentage of carbon dioxide in the exhaled air, because during exhalation we are adding more carbon dioxide, so the percentage of carbon dioxide is more in the exhaled air, whereas the nitrogen gas is same 79%. We didn't use that in the process of respiration. Only which gas we have used? Oxygen we have used. These are all approximate values. Okay. The thing is the composition of air changes when we compare the inhaled air with the exhaled air. In the exhaled air, oxygen percentage is less and carbon dioxide percentage is more. In the inhaled air, oxygen percentage is more and carbon dioxide percentage is less. Okay. So this is the table which represent so what has raised the percentage of carbon dioxide in the exhaled air? It is the carbon dioxide is released during the process of respiration, so it increases the percentage of carbon dioxide in the exhaled air. The total lung capacity of the human beings is nearly 5800 ml. Normally at rest, who inhale or exhale approximately 500 ml of air. 120 ml of air remains in the lungs after complete exhalation. This is the fact. You have to know it. Okay, children. The total lung capacity of the human beings is nearly 5800 ml. But normally at rest, when we inhale or exhale, approximately 500 ml of air only. 120 ml of air remains in the lungs after complete exhalation. Okay. You have to recall the activity of the lung capacity performed by you in the class 7. Already you have done this activity, respiration in organisms lesson. Okay, once you can recall that. Next, let us proceed. Transportation of gases. Transportation of gases. So till now we have studied how the air combines with the blood. So now the transportation of gases, how the gases are carried. We know that the air is a mixture of gases that fills the lungs and the alveoli when that enters our body. The relative amount of different gases in air and their combining capacity with hemoglobin, the pigment present in the blood, and other substances in the blood determine their transport via blood in the body. How the gases are carried? What is the medium for the transport of these gases? Blood. Okay. Which part of the blood carrying these gases? Hemoglobin. Where that hemoglobin is present? In the RBC, red blood cells. Okay. You studied in your lower class the functions of blood. One of the important functions of the blood is transport of gases, transportation of gases. When oxygen present in the air is within normal limits, that is around 21%, then almost all of it is carried in the blood by binding to hemoglobin, a protein present in the red blood cells. As the oxygen is diffused in the blood, it rapidly combines with the hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin. Okay, hemoglobin, oxygen combines with hemoglobin to form a complex. What is that complex? Oxyhemoglobin complex. Not only hemoglobin can combine with oxygen, but the reverse can also happen to yield a molecule of hemoglobin and oxygen. The meaning is oxygen can combine with the hemoglobin and form the oxyhemoglobin, and at the same time that oxyhemoglobin can breaks into hemoglobin and oxygen also. Okay children, the carbon dioxide is usually transported as bicarbonates. Oxygen is transported in the form of oxyhemoglobin, but whereas the carbon dioxide is transported in the form of bicarbonate, while some amount of it can combine with hemoglobin and the rest is dissolved in blood plasma. In the form of bicarbonate it is transported. Some amount of this bicarbonate combines with the hemoglobin and form the carboxyhemoglobin. Okay, and most of the times this carbon dioxide in the form of bicarbonate dissolved in the plasma of the blood. Okay, study the equations for better understanding here how the hemoglobin combines with oxygen and form oxyhemoglobin, and how that oxyhemoglobin dissociates to oxygen and hemoglobin. So Hb represents the hemoglobin, combines with O2 to form the HbO2, that is oxyhemoglobin, and the oxyhemoglobin dissociates into the hemoglobin plus oxygen. Okay, if the hemoglobin is exposed to the air, for example when you climb a mountain, okay, or high altitude, or the air at sea level, nearly every molecule combines with oxygen to form the oxyhemoglobin, because the necessity, we need more oxygen to produce more energy. Okay, so every molecule of oxygen combines with the hemoglobin and form oxyhemoglobin at sea level. At a height of 13 kilometers, means about 8 miles above the sea level, if you consider, the concentration of oxygen is much lower, about 1/5 at sea level, because at normal level the oxygen percentage is more, but when you are climbing up, so the oxygen percentage may be decreased. At that time what happens? During these conditions only about half as many molecules of oxygen combine with the hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin complex. This is important because the blood cannot carry enough oxygen to the tissues if hemoglobin is combined with a few oxygen molecules. So due to that, human life is impossible at such an altitude without a supplementary supply of oxygen. That's the reason why you might have observed a mountaineer, means who is climbing the mountains, they carry oxygen cylinders on their back, isn't it? Okay, so the provision for such a supply is built into modern aircrafts, which have pressurized cabins that maintain an enriched air supply. So when we go deep into the sea, it is also, so sometimes you might have seen they will jump into the sea and go into the deep sea survey. At that time also they will carry the oxygen cylinder, because when you go to deep into the sea, again the oxygen levels will decrease. Okay, so this is very important, the importance of oxygen, how it combines with the hemoglobin and involves in the respiration. So let us proceed. The gaseous exchange, again continuation. Gaseous exchange capillaries to cells and back. In the transport of gases, introduction is completed. Let us enter into the main concept. In the capillaries, over the tissues, hemoglobin meets a very different environment. The tissue cells are continually using the oxygen. Hence, the concentration of oxygen is quite low, isn't it? Because continuously we need energy to do the work. Continuously the life process, other life process has to run. The fuel is energy, ATP. Okay, so continuously there is a decrease in the concentration of oxygen. in the tissues. So it might be only 1/3 of that in the lungs. So as the concentration of oxygen is so low, the oxyhemoglobin releases the oxygen molecules that enters the cells. So first what happens? Hemoglobin combines with oxygen to form oxyhemoglobin, HbO2. And whenever we need oxygen in the cells for the production of energy, at that time the oxyhemoglobin breaks into hemoglobin and oxygen. So that released oxygen is used for the production of energy. In the reactions that occur within the cells in our bodies, carbon dioxide and water are produced and the energy is released to be used up for different purposes. Okay. So in the reactions, so what happens inside the cells? Cellular respiration takes place, where the oxygen combines with that substrates and for example glucose combines with oxygen to form carbon dioxide and water. During that process, the bonds are broken and the energy is released. The energy is released to be used for different purposes. Okay, children. The gaseous exchange in the capillaries to the cells and back. Cellular respiration, the most important concept we have entered into. So till now, so far we have studied about the external respiration, where the respiratory organ is involved. Okay. Internal respiration just completed. Now cellular respiration or tissue respiration we are entering into. This is the true respiration actually. The term cellular respiration refers to the pathway by which cells release energy from the chemical bonds of the food molecules that enter them. Okay. What is actual respiration? Cellular respiration, the path in which the cells release energy from the chemical bonds of the food molecules that enter them. Okay. It provides that energy for the essential process of life. So living cells must carry out cellular respiration. Living cells must carry out cellular respiration. It can be in the presence of oxygen, that is aerobic respiration, or in the absence, that is independent of oxygen, anaerobic respiration or fermentation. Okay. If the process of release of energy which is taking place in the presence of oxygen, it is called as aerobic respiration. If it occurs in the independent of oxygen or in the absence of oxygen, it is called anaerobic respiration, or sometimes it is also called the fermentation. Okay. Cellular respiration, the prokaryotic cells, prokaryotes, primitive cells like that of bacteria, occurs within the cytoplasm. Cellular respiration, those cells, prokaryotic cells, takes place within the cytoplasm. In eukaryotic cells, this process of cellular respiration takes place in the cytoplasm, as well as another important cell organelle which involves in the cellular respiration, that is mitochondria. The sites of cellular respiration in eukaryotic cells is cytoplasm and mitochondria. The produced energy is stored in the mitochondria in the form of ATP, adenosine triphosphate. It is energy currency. That is why the mitochondria are called powerhouses of the cell. In 9th class you have studied the structure of mitochondria and the function of mitochondria. Isn't it, children? Okay. Let us proceed. The exact chemical details of breakdown of sugar or other foods within a living cell does not take place in a single reaction, but occurs in a series of small steps. Slowly and steadily the breaking down of that glucose or sugars takes place in the cellular respiration. The complete breakdown of the sugar molecule with the release of all its available energy involves a series of different chemical reactions which takes place in the cytoplasm and mitochondria of the cell. From the breakdown of glucose, the energy is released and stored up in a special compound. What is that special compound? ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Okay, so it involves different structures, several chemicals. Okay, the chemicals like the substrate first glucose, the structures like cytoplasm and the mitochondria of the cell, and the chemical substances called hormones. Several hormones catalyze this physiological process of cellular respiration. Okay, children, let us proceed. It is a small parcel of chemical energy. The energy currency of these cells is ATP, an energy rich compound that is capable of supplying energy wherever needed within the cell. Okay, whenever we need energy or for any process, when the energy is required, this ATP breaks to release the inorganic phosphate, which is rich in energy, will be utilized. Okay, each ATP molecule gives 7200 calories of energy. This energy is stored in the form of phosphate bonds. It is stored in the form of phosphate bonds. If the bond is broken, the stored energy is released. Okay, like this. ATP will get hydrolyzed in the presence of water. Whenever energy is required, it is break in the presence of water. It breaks into ADP ADP means adenosine diphosphate plus inorganic phosphate. IP means inorganic phosphate. So this inorganic phosphate contains huge energy. That is, one ATP molecule, when it breaks, 7200 calories of energy is produced. So during this process only, plus energy 7.2 kilocalories or 7200 calories of energy is produced. Okay. So here this cellular respiration involves several steps which you study in your higher classes. First one is glycolysis, breaking down of glucose into two molecules of pyruvic acid. So this is glycolysis process which takes place in the cytoplasm of the cell. Which takes place in the cytoplasm. Glucose converted into pyruvate or pyruvic acid. It is a 6 carbon compound, glucose C6H12O6. It is converted to the pyruvic acid, a 3 carbon compound. During this process, small amount of energy, 2 ATPs are produced. 2 ATPs are utilized, total 4 ATPs are produced, 2 are utilized in the reaction. So it is a net gain is 2 ATPs. This process is called glycolysis, breaking of glucose into two molecules of pyruvic acid. Then next, the fate of this pyruvic acid is depends upon the availability of oxygen. If oxygen is available, it will further break down. That is called aerobic respiration, where that pyruvic acid is converted to carbon dioxide and water, and huge amount of energy is produced. Nearly 38 molecules of ATP is produced from when one molecule of glucose is completely oxidized. It takes place in the plants and animals when oxygen is available. If oxygen is not available, or in the absence or in the low amount of oxygen, anaerobic respiration and fermentation occur. In the anaerobic respiration, lactic acid is formed. It takes place in the bacteria and even in our muscles also. When your muscles are stressed or when you do heavy exercise continuously, okay, this lactic acid is formed, which will cause fatigue, pain, okay. And in the presence of yeast, in the absence of oxygen, glucose is converted to ethanol or ethyl alcohol. This is called fermentation. This reaction is called as fermentation reaction. What is fermentation? The process of conversion of glucose into ethyl alcohol in the presence of yeast is called as fermentation. Okay, children, this is the concept of cellular respiration. When you go deep in your higher classes, you are going to study about the glycolysis, and the aerobic respiration takes place in 3 stages. One is glycolysis, which occurs in the cytoplasm. The second one is Krebs cycle, which takes place in the mitochondria, inner mitochondrial matrix. And the last step, that is electron transport system, where the huge amount of energy is produced. So that takes place in the inner membrane cristae of mitochondria, where these elementary particles are present. Okay, all these process involves the participation of several respiratory enzymes. Okay, children, this is the concept you have to remember. Glucose first break down into pyruvic acid or pyruvate. Then that pyruvate, if oxygen is available, it breaks into carbon dioxide and water and release huge amount of energy. If oxygen is not available, then also it breaks down to either lactic acid or ethanol, and a small amount of energy is produced. Okay, if oxygen is not available and the respiration occur, it is anaerobic respiration. If oxygen available and the respiration occur, it is called as aerobic respiration. Okay, children, thank you for watching our video. Please subscribe our channel and press the bell icon for receiving latest updates.